Hey everybody, guess what day it is? Sausage Saturday. I know, make your jokes. But we are finally getting to making our venison burger or ground venison and sausage today. This meat has been in the freezer for a little bit longer than I would have liked, but we just haven't had time. So we finally got some pork shoulder from our local butcher. So we got it from a new place this year, Thurston's Butcher Shop in Fennel Falls. So we're gonna see how that goes. So last night I cut up the pork shoulder. I've never used pork shoulder before. I've always just used pork fat. So I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we'll give it a go this year. And if we don't like it or if it doesn't work out the way we want, then we'll go back to the fat. So I'm going to mix it a little bit differently this year because the pork is actually has a lot of meat in it, more than what we would have used in the past. So I'm going to do about 60% venison and 40% pork shoulder and see how that turns out. Hopefully we have a good result. We're aiming for about 25% fat. We still might be under that, but it'll still be tasty, I'm sure. So we have about 30 pounds of venison here. I have the heart, which I still have to cut up, and we're going to include that in the grind. I always keep the heart and include it here. So I'm just going to get that done, cube it up, and then we are going to add the fat cubes and the seasoning. We like to add the seasoning to the cubes of meat and then put it through the grinder. We find the flavor mixes better. So I'm just going to get the heart cut up and get the spices mixed, and then we're gonna get grinding. Most of the meat is still frozen. It's got ice crystals on it, and that's what you want when you start using the grinder, just so that it kind of doesn't, what's it called, like mush. I don't know what that's called. But anyways, we're gonna get going. When I'm doing this, it's always really cool. It's like a little anatomy lesson. If you've never seen heart meat before, it's a very solid tissue, like zero fat, very tasty. Sometimes we'll fry the heart up after I shoot the deer, or after we harvest the deer, but this year we thought we'd add it to the grind. I'm gonna trim off this fat around the heart for the dogs. So I have my handy dandy scale here that we're going to use to measure the meat. These are the ice crystals that you want to have on your meat when you're grinding. You want them to be that cold so that they don't break apart or get mushy during the grinding process. This is the kind of fat that I normally use when we make sausage. So we'll see how it goes this time. I had a little bit left over from the last time that we made sausage. So we're gonna start just by grinding some of the venison just for hamburger. And that is actually my favorite way to process venison, so that I can use it in meat sauce, lasagna, cabbage rolls, meatballs, hamburger, whatever. So that is the most versatile way that I like to have it done. So we're gonna do about, I don't know, 10 or 15 pounds of just straight grind.
Let me round it first.
That's what 15 pounds of ground venison looks like. It's gonna be awesome. So now Brian's just putting on the fine grind plate, and any scraps go to the chickens. It is so bright out here, I can barely see. I have got my glasses on. I'm bringing the meat scraps to the chickens. The protein in the winter is really good for them. I got snacks for you. Huey. Well, we'll see. Doesn't look like it's gonna last very long. I'm glad you guys like that little snack. It's good for you. So now we're gonna run this through again in the fine grind, and then I'm gonna package it up. Okay, we're gonna make our sausage in 10-pound batches. That's what I have the spices measured out for. So the first thing we're gonna do is weigh out our meat. Okay, so that's 7.2. Looking for 7.5. And then I'm gonna add a couple of some bits of fat. And then our pork. I'm gonna go just above 10 pounds because I heaped my measurements when I did my spices. Let's take this back outside where it's nice and very cold. Brian is just washing the sausage casings in the laundry room. And the way they came this year, we got a different type. They're still intestinal sausage casings, but they all came packed in a huge bag. I think it's like, I don't even know, there's a ton in there, but this big of a bag of, so it's like, yikes, it's like undoing the worst knitting knot you've ever seen, so it's challenging. So I've pre-mixed my spices, but just so you know, and I'll put it, maybe I'll write it up on the screen here. So for 10 pounds of sausage, so I have roughly around 7.5 pounds of venison and about, I'm gonna say 3.5 pounds actually of pork fat. So you could do 7 and 3 or 7.5 and 2.5, whatever fat to meat ratio you want. We are going to add the spice before we grind it. So when the meat is in chunks, and that way the flavor gets kind of ground and mixed in better when you go through the coarse grind and then the fine grind. So I'm not gonna add the water until after we put it in the coarse grind, but we're gonna add 2 cups of cold water to it once it's ground. And then the spices, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, 2 tablespoons of coarse salt, 2 tablespoons of partially ground fennel, 2 tablespoons of black pepper, and 4 to 6 teaspoons of cayenne pepper flakes. That's for medium heat. So if you want it hotter, you can add more. And if you want it mild, add less. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these spices. And then just mix them into the meat. I gotta break up the meat a little bit. Cayenne pepper is going up the nostrils and the pepper. Okay, so now we've done the coarse grind. I'm just gonna add, I'm not adding the whole 2 cups of water right away. But basically I'm gonna mix the water in, and you want it to get so that the meat is sticky. And you can see I've got a nice mix now of fat to meat ratio. And I'm going for about 25% is ideal. So I think we've definitely got that, which is great. I've seen people make sausage without adding water, and I guess that's awesome too. I think the water just adds a little bit of hydration as you're cooking it. The meat will like steam. Okay, so I've reached that pasty consistency. So now we're ready for the fine grind. So we're just gonna cook up a patty to check for flavor. This is the last chance before you actually make it into sausages to add anything.
Hot?
I don't know. No. Spicy.
Yeah, not too spicy.
I ate the whole thing. Very good. Finally, the last couple times I've wanted it to be spicier, and that is good. Okay, so for the honey garlic sausage, I've got here 2 2 tablespoons of black pepper, 4 tablespoons of coarse salt. The other ingredients are a cup and a half of honey and 6 tablespoons of minced garlic. And I'm gonna add the half cup of water after we do the coarse grind. If you don't want to use honey, you can absolutely use corn syrup. So that's completely up to you. So we're gonna add the salt and black pepper. One of these years, I'm actually gonna use my own garlic. 4, and I'm gonna make it super garlicky. 5, 6, and some for the vampires. This honey is from my brother-in-law. And because we've added all of this kind of liquidy ingredients, I'm only gonna add half a cup of water. Okay, you ready, mister? Okay, we're gonna add a half cup of water. Mix that in until it becomes pasty. And do the fine grind. Okay, we're gonna fry up a little patty for the honey garlic, Brian's favorite. Mine is the hot Italian, and I have some left, so I'm gonna do one of each. 'Kay, we finished up making our venison sausage, and now we're gonna move on and do all of our bear. So we have about 25 pounds of bear meat. So I'm gonna start to vac seal this so I don't get it confused and so I can get it all labeled up. It's great to let your sausage dry a little bit, air dry, before you package it. $11 pounds of venison hot Italian, 11 pounds venison honey garlic to the freezer. We are on our very last batch of bear sausage, and we had 10 pounds of meat left, so we're actually doing 15 pounds. So we put 5 pounds of the pork shoulder to 10 pounds of bear meat. To that, we are going to add 4.5 tablespoons of salt, 4.5 teaspoons of sage, 4.5 teaspoons of black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of thyme. So I've got the sage, salt, and black pepper in here, and I'm just gonna mix this around because the sage is very fluffy when you grind it. I didn't use my own sage because I had some left over from the previous time we made sausage and I wanted to use it up. Probably should have used my own, so we're gonna add that. And then I am adding my own thyme, and this is from the thyme that I just harvested and processed. So that's pretty exciting. It smells so good. So we're gonna add that. That's probably enough. And then we are going to add, it calls for 2 tablespoons of maple syrup for a 10-pound batch, but because we like things a little bit sweet, I'm going to add 4 tablespoons, and this is, we only have about 8 quarts of maple syrup left. So, whoops, we can't get that sugar shack done fast enough. After I mix this and it goes through the coarse grind, I'll add a cup of water and mix that in before we do the fine grind. £11 pounds of bear hot Italian. Well, that was a busy day. We started at about 8 o'clock this morning, just after sunrise, and the sun is already starting to set. So it's been a pretty long day, but super productive. So I had to write it down because I kind of lost track. I got in the mode of just get it in the freezer. So I stopped kind of making record of what we put down. But in total today, we ground 15 pounds of venison. We made 11 pounds of hot Italian venison sausage. We made 11 pounds of honey garlic venison sausage. We made 11 pounds of hot Italian bear sausage. We made 11 pounds of honey garlic bear sausage. And we made 15 pounds of breakfast sausage from the bear. And I just wanted to show you because most of the sausage we did in casings, but for the breakfast sausage, if you didn't see my video on the sweet potato hash, it is so good. But one of the drawbacks was that we made our other breakfast sausage in regular sausage casings. So when I wanted to make the hash, I had to take it out. And we don't usually eat breakfast sausage in the casing anyway, so I'm not sure why we did that. But this is how I packaged my breakfast sausage this time so that I can thaw it and then put it right in the skillet and cook it either in patties or into that sweet potato hash, which is probably going to be the latter of the two. So in total, what did we do? 75 pounds of sausage or ground, which is pretty awesome. So we did add the full 20 pounds of pork shoulder. It actually worked out perfectly. We needed the exact amount. The sausage casings though that we bought were tricky. I would probably not buy them that way again, instead buy the singles. We only used a small fraction of the entire package, so I actually vacuum sealed it and put it in the freezer, but I would imagine that it's not going to refreeze, so the next time we make sausage, we better be making a lot. So yeah, that's the only real drawback, but otherwise we've got a fully stocked freezer full of sausage for the 22, 23, 24, because we're in 23, the 23, 24 kind of pantry season. Pretty excited about that. It's always a good time to work in the kitchen with Brian. There's a lot of jokes that happen off camera, but it has been a pretty long day, so he's just outside getting some fresh air and I'm about to do the same. So hope you're having a great day. If you have ever thought about or think about trying to make your own sausage, I highly recommend it. You can borrow equipment from friends and try your hand. It's super rewarding. You can buy pork shoulder at a local butcher and just go for it. It's super tasty. I always am so impressed that this is the skill that I learned, and I probably will be doing it until I can't anymore. So anyways, have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.